The next major step for full-scale digital ID just took place. Apple has announced that their iPhone will now have digital ID. What does this mean? The Apple iPhone digital ID is just going to be a digital representation of your US passport. Let me take you through it. So with Apple's iPhone, you would essentially load on your US passport into the Wallet app, and it'll also be accessible on your Apple Watch. This basically allows US passport holders to create digital identity credential based on your passport information. So this is a digital identity credential. It's not yet going to be connected to all that you are, all the info data, your history, or financial transactions yet. This is just a digital credential based on your passport info. But again, it's another major step towards the coming control grid. When users actually do this, iPhone users do this, step one is you're going to scan your passport photo page, and that's also going to read the embedded microchip in your passport. If you didn't know already, there's an embedded microchip in every US passport. The second step is it'll give you a facial scan. So your biometric authentication. It's going to scan your face from different angles. It's going to require you to do different head movements. This is the step of collecting biometric data, giving it to a private company like Apple. Users then can present their digital ID at in-person checkpoints, for example, over 250 US airports. Right now, it's only for domestic travel, not international. If you do international, you are required to have your physical passport in hand. So the digital ID on the Apple iPhone, they say it's encrypted and it's just stored on your device. Apple says that they cannot see when or where your ID is being used. Again, that's their claim, but how often do we trust what tech companies tell us about our data and how they protect it or what they can see or not see? This all plays in, again, to Agenda 2030, the digital legal identity. So they are trying to go for identities that are managed, verified, used digitally for access to our own rights and services. Okay, this goes back to what I said. If you step out of line with anything that the current regime in power or the global regime says is out of line, they can shut you down for access to bank accounts, to food, things like that. That's where we're going. This Apple Digital ID is a major step to eventually fully replace physical IDs with digital. It's going to normalize this digital ID for so many normies who are just going to sign up and do it, right? It's so much easier. Just put your identification onto your phone. So right now, Apple's digital ID remains privatized. It's device specific. It has limited scope for implementation. But again, this aligns in spirit with the broader Agenda 2030 digital ID control grid. These are incremental steps. They're not just going to put the cage around you right away. It's going to be little incremental steps. Get you used to little things piece by piece. And as you take those little baby steps, you get used to the cage being put around you. One more big step towards full-scale digital ID, where all the individual's life history, info, data, their financial records, everything is all connected. It's not there yet, but again, this is another step towards that. These are the questions this raises. Will digital-only IDs become standard and people required to use them? We've seen this. This is what happens, right? We normalize something, it becomes a standard, and then all of a sudden it's forced upon us that's the only way to do it from now on. Who controls the ecosystem and the infrastructure of this? Right now, it's a private corporation, Apple. But government has talked about doing this. And of course, we have the ever-present evil public-private partnership where the public entity, the government, gives permission to a private corporation to store all your data and manage all of this through government contracts, which is most likely what is going to happen. The government will partner with these big entities like Google, Apple, Palantir, you name it, these big AI companies to manage all of our data, connect all the railways together of the infrastructure that's being laid so that your one big massive digital ID, the culmination of one of the pieces of Agenda 2030, is all connected down with your past, your history, your financial records, your schooling records, your health records, everything. Go take a look at some of my other digital ID videos for information about this. The last question, of course, is what legal safeguards will there be to protect against misuse, data breaches, tracking, exclusion, or blocking from services? These kind of issues will come up before there's any kind of legal framework in place. And that's what's happening. This technology is moving so fast, they're pushing these incremental steps so fast that it won't give our legislative process time to catch up for actual legislation that might protect each individual. This is the way that government will actually circumvent the law in order to control us through private corporations and our access to public services and private services. I would say the Apple Digital ID is a digital representation of a state or government issued identification. It's not yet connected fully to the full infrastructure and all the rail lines that they're putting together through these AI databases. So they can't quite shut you out of certain services if you did the digital ID on Apple, but it is coming. Again, major step towards that process as we take these little steps towards this dystopian, totalitarian future.
There we go.
Welcome, friend.
The next major
Shalom. First thing and foremost, we do our praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Kakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone and rule well. Peace and blessings and salutations to the whole elect. News in the gospel, brother, and understanding of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. This is a quick lesson through the spirit. It says no title, just watch. This is uploaded by the brother, I think Yashalam, from the main camp. And I know this brothers was going into how this new Apple technology just rolled out a digital ID, which that's the primary goal that the elites want to enact on humanity, is installing the radio frequency identification chip in everybody, because it's about ultimate control. Now, once again, Great Millstone, we may sound like great broken records, but you know what? It is what it is. Okay, we don't really care how you people feel about it, because the scriptures tells us in the book of Ezekiel that we have to go out and warn Israel and to give a report to these things coming to pass. So I'm gonna go here real quick to Apple. Not Apple, but let's look this up real quick. Apple to roll out digital IDs. Digital ID, which digital IDs is not essentially the chip, but it's a step in that direction, when everything will be highly surveyed and all your information, etc. Okay, so it says Apple introduces digital ID, a new way to create and present an ID in the Apple Wallet, which essentially, you upload your data from your phone, like on this phone. I have an Apple phone. Now, if I double click the side button here on the right, then it will pull up my credit card information, my Apple Pay and whatever else cards, insurance cards, whatever that may deem necessary for proper use. So the reason why these phones was actually enhanced is because, for the simple fact, it was a thing of convenience and control. Okay, more control than convenience, because once you can put your entire life on your phone and you don't have to worry about losing data and credit cards and money, you can just say, hey, it's harder to lose a phone than a wallet in some cases, right? But notice, going back to 2008, 2009. Matter of fact, 2007, I had a Razr phone. It was a Razr flip phone. All right. And then by 2008, maybe, that's when the concepts of the so-called touchscreen phones came out. 2009, I seen the first concept of a touchscreen phone, but it wasn't like necessarily a smartphone, but it had like particular apps and, it was touchscreen. 2010, then iPhone came out, and, etc. By 2012, you had iPhone 4 that was out, and then you had iPhone 4, I think Plus or some shit, something like that. It was two different versions of the iPhone 4, which I had the upgraded version back in 2011, 2012. So it's easy to see that they was already planning this ahead of time, because that was the whole point of convenience, So it says here, digital ID offers a secure and private way for users to create an Apple ID or ID in Apple Wallet using information from their U.S. passports and present their IDs with phone or Apple Watch. And everybody and their mother has a smartphone and a watch. Okay, this is the new thing. Hell, you got the Galaxy watches, you got the Apple watches, you got the Fitbits, you got all these different forms of technology that ESO has put out there, so people can so-called opt into convenience, but it's really not about convenience. It's about ultimate control, to say the least. Okay, so it says Apple today announced the launch of a digital ID, a new way for users to create an Apple ID wallet using information from their U.S. passports and present it with the security and privacy of iPhone or Apple Watch. Now you gotta ask yourself, why would they need something of such when you just have a physical copy of your ID? Like they got this real ID shit now, which is essentially the same thing as a regular driver's license. It's just considered real ID because you can utilize it when you want to make certain moves. Like now, in order for you to get on a plane, you have to present your real ID, and you can just essentially say, well, wait a minute, why can't I just use my regular ID, which is essentially the same thing? Well, they're not going to allow you to use it because they need a quote-unquote updated credential. It's all control, man, just like it was during the time of 2020 when they rolled out the and the mandates and all this other shit. It's the same thing, And it says, at launch, digital ID acceptance will roll out the first in beta at TSA checkpoints at more than 250 airports in the U.S. for in-person identity verification during domestic travel, which is locally. It says with an additional digital ID acceptance use cases to come in the future. It says digital ID gives more people a way to create and present an ID and Apple Wallet, even as they do not have real ID compliant driver's license or state ID. But wait a minute, why is a digital ID more operable than a so-called real ID if it's just something digital? Because it's about control. Okay, so all the inconvenience that they came up with since the time of 9/11 and TSA and all this so-called DT, domestic terrorism, all this other bullshit, they did all that because they wanted to put people in a stance for inconvenience, man. Okay, they wanted people to get so frustrated to the point people would by default opt into this system. Okay, they weren't worried about no fucking Osama Laden bin blowing shit up. That was never the problem. Okay, that whole 9 Nueve Once, that was all folly. That was all madness. Okay, that was never the case. All right, and it came out. And it reads, it says here, digital IDs. It says a digital ID is not a replacement for a physical passport and cannot be used for international travel and border crossing in lieu of the U.S. passport. But it says here, with the launch of a digital ID, we're excited to expand the ways users can store and present their identity. It says all with security and privacy built into iPhone and Apple Watch. It says Jennifer Bailey, Apple's vice president of Apple's Pay and Wallet, Apple Wallet, like I just mentioned. It says since introducing the ability to add driver's license or state ID to Apple Wallet in 2022, we've seen how much users love having an ID right on their devices. No, we don't. It says digital IDs bring the secure and convenient option to even more users across the country, as they can now add an ID to wallet using information from their U.S. passport. So just another thing of so-called convenience. Okay, so peep this video. All under the guisemanship of traveling, because they know that these peons here, they pride themselves on traveling. But it says, like all IDs in Apple Wallet, digital ID takes advantage of the privacy and security features already built into Apple iPhone and Apple Watch to help protect against tampering and theft. So all this was just done by design, because Apple had what they call Apple-to-Apple encryption, when basically you can't get the files off of it, so to speak, because they all encrypted, they're coded, you know. So allegedly that's supposed to be for security clearance, and only like the CIA and FBI, they can utilize all those files in case they need it for whatever investigation they deem necessary. But yeah, so it's getting real, man. This is prophecy for all you Jakes out there that scoff this. All right, so this is the book of Ezekiel 33:1. It says, again, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, speak to the children of thy people, and saying to them, when I bring the sword upon the land, and if the people of the land take a man of their coast and set him for their watchman. A watchman is the person that essentially watches. This is the reason why we can bring out 4 or 5 videos a week on this particular topic, because we're commanded to do so. All right, and you other Israelites out there, you're gonna have a huge wake-up call once this come to pass, and once this is a reality and you're faced with this, not eating or going to the FEMA camp, then this is the reality of it. You're gonna have to accept it. And a lot of you're going to get the chip, because this is a prelude to the chip, man. And it says here, if he seeth the sword come upon the land, he blow the trumpet and warn the people. That's why I'm doing this show. This is why the apostles do the shows they do. This is why the brothers of our camps do the shows that they do, to warn of this impending danger, because this is getting ready to be the ordeal. By 2030, they want everybody microchip, man. So that's literally less than 5 years. It says, and whosoever hear the sound of the trumpet and take not warning, if the sword come and take him away, his blood should be upon his own head. So those of you in IUIC and UPK and all these other camps, hey, it's a wrap, man. So you better repent and get on board with this thing and start teaching and pushing it, so Yahweh Shai can exemplify you from this mark, man. Because if you're not pushing it, You're going to take it because he says, those that kept the word of my patience, I will keep them from the hour of temptation. You're not keeping the word of the Heavenly Father's patience. So therefore, you're not going to be kept from the hour of temptation, because it tells you anybody that adds or take away from this book, the Lord will add to him the plagues that is written in the book, man. So essentially, you're doing yourselves a disservice. You know? Isaiah 42:9, behold, the former things are come to pass, and new things do I declare. It says, before they spring forth, I tell you of them. Right? We're telling you about it. All right, Isaiah 48:6, it says, thou hast heard and see all this, and will ye not declare it? It says, I've showed thee new things from this time, even hidden things, and thou dost not know them. Okay, and the hidden things are the prophecies, man. Okay, it says in our 1 Peter that we have a more sure word of prophecy. And the apostles have been speaking on this since they've been on YouTube, so there's no excuse. And it says, and he heard the sound of the trumpet and took not warning, his blood should be upon him, but he that taketh warning should deliver his soul. But if the watchmen see the sword come and blow not the trumpet, and the people be not warned, if the sword come and take any person from among them, he is taken away in his iniquity, but his blood I will require at the watchman's hand. Okay? So son of man, so thou, O son of man, I have set thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore thou shalt hear the word at my mouth and warn them from me. Okay? So this is a warning. Ezekiel 33:33, it says, and when this cometh to pass, lo, it will come, then they should know that a prophet had been among them. So I'm going to end it there, man, giving all praises and glory and honor that is due to Yahweh, Hashem, Yahweh Shai. Lord's will, you are edified to the next lesson. Shalom.